Klein here, web analyst at Enscape. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker to you, who also happens to be my namesake, Florian Kohlbecker. But the name is not the only thing we have in common. We're both passionate skiers, and he even produces his own skis. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to go for a ride on these yet, but who knows what the future brings. When he's not tinkering in the workshop with the models for the new season, he's an active board member of the Kohlbecker Gesamtplan GmbH, which was founded by his grandpa, the famous architect Karl Kohlbecker. And now, please enjoy the customer corner session about the innovative tools and practices, both past and present, developed by Kohlbecker.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is the last session of the day, and I hope you enjoyed all the sessions that we had earlier. If you missed any of them, you can find the recordings available through the conference website. My name is Roderick Bates, and I'm here to have a discussion and what we're calling the Customer Corner with Florian Kohlbecker. Florian Kohlbecker is a friend of Enscape, and we are absolutely delighted to have him here. So with that, Florian, I'd like you to introduce yourself and provide a bit of background.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Roderick, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Florian Kohlbecker. I come out of a family of architects, 3 generations. Myself, after school, I learned my kind of a dream job, which is a German carpenter. Then I studied architecture in Germany, and my first job was at Renzo Pianos in Paris, where I worked for the project team for the Paul Klee Museum, which was already a very difficult project because it's like 3 waves in the nature. It was like for this time, for the CAD programs we had in architecture was already difficult. We had to write lists and already start programming. And after this project, I came in my father's and brother's office, Kohlbecker Gesamtplan, based here in Germany. And we are doing jobs actually worldwide and using Enscape since it came on the market.
It's a great introduction and a wonderful story. And of course, you've left a few wonderful things out, such as Black Forest skis, which I would encourage the audience to look into after this talk, but maybe not architecturally relevant, but certainly interesting. But one of the things that we at Enscape were probably most impressed by is your long history of being an early adopter of new technologies, but also new technologies that you fold into workflows. And I'm curious about how you sort of emerged as this, as a designer that's always on the forefront of technology. And how do you review and decide which technologies to pursue? And then also, how do you develop these workflows that incorporate these novel technologies?
Yes, very good question. If I'm allowed to, I will go 90 years back and explain a little bit the family history, because it's also thanks to my grandfather and father what we're doing now and how our mindset is shaped. So my grandfather 90 years ago started his architecture office in Germany, and as a very young architect, he won the competition for the Volkswagen factory in Wolfsburg and was involved in a really big project and had to manage a lot of people and then started working end of the 50s together with my father. And with this automotive references, they're doing the Audi factory and other stuff. And my brother and me, we are doing now worldwide as a core competence automotive factories. For Kia, for Porsche, for Audi, for Jaguar Land Rover, for BMW, which is one of our big clients. Mm-hmm. And these big, we worked also for Tesla, and these big projects need a kind of other way how to deal with them, because they have to be very fast. You could never change the start of production, so we had to figure out what to do. And in the 70s, to come back to your point, we had the the phone and maybe the telex to give like quick information, and we had the letter, but nothing else. My father worked for IBM, a semiconductor factory here in Germany, and the IBM said, as this time was usual, said you have to buy a computer. I remember I was a little child, like 6 years old, and we had this computer which was big like my whole office, and to print and save stuff, it put points into paper.
Oh yeah, the punch cards, sure.
Like punch cards, and then like we had the thing there. Later on, just massive discs, and then the disc became smaller. And
that's right.
We are now in the cloud. There's no more saving, no more discs, no compact disc, no DVD, no nothing to record. My father said, okay, we have the computer. I had to buy it because of the client. So we use it, and we started doing the text information for the tender documents into the computer. And so we are very early adapters, and it helped us to be faster at this time when nobody had a computer for sure as an architect. So we got lucky with our client. And then in the beginning of the 80s, like 1984, we bought the first computer which was able to model or to draw in the third dimension, which cost at this time, I always forget it, it was over 200,000 Deutschmark, which is now so like
a huge investment at the time, right? And how did you know that that type of drafting would provide enough value to offset that cost at the time?
I mean, my father, who like unfortunately died last year, he said already like a few years ago, he said like digitization in architecture was a clever idea 50 years ago. So for him, it was clear, yeah, that like maybe for us it's now clear that like the VR comes and then the extended reality, and we have more algorithms in architecture and all this stuff. It's just in our genes. So he was already convinced it will go, and maybe because he could see it with his clients, with like IBM, Mercedes, and Audi, where you see the robots at this time and all these developments. So he was very sure that like that will happen and be important. And already 10 years later, my brother came in the office, 1992, and he was sent to Renzo Piano's place to do a competition together for the Potsdamer Platz. And we won the competition. And then like we had at this time, we had also the fax already, you know, every change was like sent by fax and so on. And then came in the 80s, and then in the 90s, we had the email already, as you know. And then my father, who like had of every project, we were like 150 people already at this time. He read every fax. It came first from the secretary on his desk, and then he knew every project, everything. Then the email came out, and my father said, so, okay, all emails like forwarded to me. He gave up after 2 weeks. And then he said another thing, so how should we deal with this? You know, like all this information, like in emails, whatever. And I said, we have to program our own desktop, like, let's say a project server. So before all these project servers came on the building market, we had our own one, which we used for the Potsdamer Platz, because we already figured out it's impossible to all these plans, information, if it's not structured. So my father had the first project server, maybe in Europe, maybe worldwide, and that was the next step.
What's interesting is when you're talking about your project server and the type of data that sort of puts you over the edge, it's not just model data or, you know, the building geometry and things like that. It's also all of the other types of information related to communication that were part of the issue as well.
Exactly.
You mentioned emails.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have now, you know, to where did it come from? You know, then we had the project server, and now we have like let's say like these platforms where everybody can like see the BIM model in the same space. There's a single source of truth. We have like the project communication is now chat based. We have all documents in like Microsoft Teams or another product which work like this. So we have like access very fast to the informations and very structured, and we are not like this slow, like with the email, answer the email. We can chat with our clients. We can like make a video call, you know, to show something. I mean, like this part here, put it there, like things like this. And then we're coming to the next level, which is maybe a project we did just this year with COVID. Yeah, we had like the problem, we can't meet the client. We had a massive new automotive car plant to design very fast, short track, and we couldn't meet the client. We never saw them. So we did it all in VR.
Remarkable, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, that was great. And we just had the possibility a year ago. We started a program how to bring like real-time live our project data in the VR glasses without any effort, so that I can go anytime, take my glass out, go in the project, walk around and see what my modelers, what my architects, or what the client did. And so we did many project meetings in the VR with the clients in Asia, with some people in Hungary, here in Germany, at 3 or 4 different cities together.
And is this throughout the whole design phase, you know, not just the early design, but even taking you through to, say, construction documents and things like that?
We already finished now the preliminary phase and the building permits, and we will go on also for the detailing.
It's amazing. And you mentioned something that's interesting to me is this idea of ease of use, saying that you can just grab the goggles, put them on, and instantly be able to access the model or communicate via VR. Do you see that the ease of use as being a significant hurdle if it's lacking, you know, to the adoption of some of these technologies?
Exactly. We started with the virtual reality around 2000, hardly pushed by Mercedes-Benz, who wanted to have every of their building projects in 3D with collision control. And I don't remember really, but
in 2000, remarkable. I mean, that's so early.
In 2000, yeah. And at least once every 4 weeks, we went in a room. They called it the black wall, and there we had like 3D goggles, very heavy, like with like bees, like bolts on it that like some camera can scan where are you in the space. And then one guy walked through the virtual reality. The other ones could see it behind on a big screen. On the right side, we already had a touch screen, which you could use only with a pencil, and we write the protocols. Yeah, and that was like 2000. Yeah. So the next step was then 2000, let's say 8, 6, 7, 8. I don't remember really. We had like this rolling basket from the supermarket. I don't know the English name. We put like a computer inside with a screen, with a long electric line, with a camera. We put our 3D models in, and we walked through the building site to try kind of like very early augmented reality, you know, like see what we designed and what we see is the same. Yeah. So it's really funny. And then when the iPad came out, it was easier to use. So more people used it because you had the iPad like 2011 or something. You go to the building site and you have an overview. That was already 2012 for sure possible. Could send an email about the problem or what happened on the building site. And then, like you say, the the VR Googles for the real use came out. I don't remember. Do you know, Roderick?
Oh boy, I'd say probably around 2012, maybe 14 or something like that. I don't know.
Something like
It's hard
that,
to say.
like an Oculus Rift or something. And then
Yeah, that's probably
came out.
2014, maybe.
So we tried this, and now at the moment we are using. Sorry for all this brands named, yeah, but whatever is good, like Oculus Quest 2, we put it in a box for our clients. We put in like a LTE router, like a mobile phone receiver, which like already pre-programmed, and the coffee mug really nicely packed, send it to them, you know, and then they can start, you know, they put it on the table, they have the mobile card inside, so they can use it without going in their company network or whatever, because sometimes out of security reasons, it's not allowed. So we made it as you asked, and they love it, yeah.
So what's fascinating to me is that you are seeing these technologies become available, but you are to implement those technologies as an early adopter. It takes a bit of a hacking, right? You know, you're putting something in a shopping cart and walking through a building, right? This isn't easy, yet the benefits are obvious to you at the time, and that takes the ability to see beyond all of the challenges of implementation to realize those benefits. And I think that's part of the visionary aspect. I think that is particularly impressive to us. But what's also interesting to us is the idea that you are essentially taking things off the shelf and then modifying them, either maybe through internally or in conjunction with the developers of these tools, to make them meet your needs. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that development process, how you actually come up with these technologies when essentially they don't exist or they're very nascent.
Yeah, actually, it's yeah, as you say, you know, we are very close to, like, let's say, like the leading universities. When I was allowed to visit the MIT to see what are they looking for, you know. And then I talk a lot of like with you, like with Enscape and with all these other companies, what they're thinking, where like the travel goes. You have to look in other industries, what they are doing and looking forward. And then as soon you find something, you just talk to the people, you try it out, like to find the right VR software. Mm-hmm. Besides Enscape was like unique, you know, and it comes here from my hometown. I'm born in Karlsruhe, where Enscape comes from. Great. So we were very, very early adopters with this one, yeah, and we were very happy. Also, we could see that it gets better with every version. And then you have others whom you have to explain because they come out of another branch, and you have to explain them how like a building works, you know. And if they are like open-minded, we start a conversation and we work together on the process, how to make it work and easy to use. That's always the key. Yeah, it must be easy to use. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's maybe the key factor, like this kind of teaming. And then in the world we are living now, it's much better because everyone has its API normally open, so we can easily, you know, get like with a little script, change it to the needs we have, yeah, adopt it mm-hmm. to the kind how we want to work, because the American architects and the colleagues from Britain and Scandinavia, they all work different than in Germany. In Germany, we are for sure, we want to make everything very, very complicated, you know, and to then solve it, except for like just do sometimes. And that's very helpful, because when I started drawing with like, what is it? The German, we say Bleistift, the crayon, and then with the ink, you know, and then like later at the university, we could use a computer. And at this time, you couldn't exchange from one program to the other a circle, because in one program it was a circle, and in the other one it was a multi-edge figure mm-hmm. or something. And actually, come to another point, you know, which is very important for us, is exactly this thing, you know, and we have still these problems, you know, in architecture. And especially in the digital space, we can't use NURBS, for example, which are so important, you know, to go to the next step. There's a lot of development to do. And also the problem is that a lot of people don't see the difference between like digitalization and digitization, you know? It's like,
interesting.
It's like to put an analog process into the digital space. Okay, that everyone should know how to do it, and we shouldn't be proud to use like Zoom, Teams, Skype, chatting, or like a scanner or like whatever. But to add to this process some action, you know, that's the real thing. And we are living still at the moment. On one side, we are in the VR and augmented and extended reality, and on the other side, in a standard BIM program, the wall doesn't know what is over and under him and to whom is connected. It should be like, as a friend of mine just said 2 days ago, it's a very good example. You have like an office building and you have a couloir, yeah? And in this couloir, in this floor where like all the doors come, you have to go to the emergency staircase or whatever.
Sure.
In a BIM model, in my opinion, you should tell this room you are a fire protected space. So everything which is connected to this fire protected space should know the door must be like 30 minutes fire protected. The ventilator shouldn't be a normal ventilator. It shouldn't be me now at this time to explain, oh, there's a wrong one inside, whatever. You should have like, the room tells you, everyone who wants to put something wrong in this room, like the program should tell him, don't put this product inside. It's not allowed. I'm fire protected. Don't you know? Like things like this, we are still working, you know, there's a lot.
It's true. And there's always a challenge because in a lot of ways, architects feel that's their responsibility, but at the same time, they could be doing things far more productive things and things that are better for the overall design process than worrying about whether or not they have, say, the right fire rating for the door or the ventilation system or what have you. And I think that speaks to this idea of, you know, from when you look at trends, I'm sure the audience is very interested to know what you think the next evolution might be. You know, what are the future trends that are out there? And obviously from our perspective, real time is one that maybe it's not a trend, but it is sort of a key component for a lot of these pieces, collaboration and things like that, everything being able to happen very quickly, very easily in real time. But you're also talking about extending this idea of sort of data within a particular model to also have its own inherent logic that also communicates back to the designer information, which seems to be about two-way communication between the model and the designer, as opposed to the designer essentially just dictating what the model is.
Exactly, like many points, like the first point is that's my dream, you know. We are architects, we are like good in designing, you know, and like overseeing complex processes and projects, and we should have time to design and not to search in an ISO norm standard what product had to go in the wall. Yeah, that should be automated in future. The other thing is what we already have. Everyone knows the videos of drones and like this Boston robo dog walking on the building site.
Well, I don't know about everybody knows, but we've seen you use that, and it's pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, we use this, and it's just great, you know, with the possibilities you have with like easy apps or like with a phone with the right LiDAR sensor. I can make like a quick point cloud of a space, send it back to my office. Meantime, he can see the difference. Is this steel beam okay or not? And in future, like that will be done by some kind of a routine with a robot. He walks along the building site, you know, and then he says, hey, I see there a hole. Yeah, this hole is okay, but it's not covered. You know, there's a ventilation going through, and if somebody falls down, we have an accident, that's not possible. He gets immediately to the construction manager information, the building site is stopped until this is done. And then he says like there's 20 beams here, they're all good, but one is 5 centimeters too short. And all this stuff will be done automatically, sent back in our model, in the virtual reality or the augmented reality. You can go there, wear like glasses, and that will come. And then for sure, yeah, to speak about like in 20, 30 years, something, I'm not smart enough to know what is that. But there's like this phenomenal historic professor from Israel, Yuval Harari, who says like all these things like phones, we're not going to use anymore because it's just like a prosthesis, you know, it's like heavy and you have to read it. He says, you know, like Elon Musk also says, we have it connected to our brain. I don't know. Yeah. And we just see it. But for the moment now, we are hardly working on these automations to make our building sites cleaner, faster, better. Like the project I said we did in VR, we also did decision making in VR with your products, yeah, to see like facades, things like this. I think the total figure is like 110 tons of CO2, like 500,000 euros of travel time.
It's massive when you think about it.
We like decreased for the client and us with not like traveling for everything. We had like all the VR glasses on, and that's a big achievement. Yeah, I think which you could do already now with the possibilities, and it's only getting better from every year to every year, as everyone knows the Moore's law. Yeah, and that one is exponential. All the products get better and faster.
So when you, that's the question within the context of VR, you know, what makes it better? Obviously, you know, you say faster, that makes a lot of sense. You want things to be more real time, to be smoother and things like that. But what else is, from your perspective, the sort of the missing pieces when it comes to virtual reality right now?
As you say, the virtual reality, it's still the calculation power, let's say, of the devices we have. The capabilities of rendering is getting greater and greater in your program. Like the real time is really important, and then for sure, like the communication, yeah, that you can go in conferences as an avatar, walk together through the building sites. And in my case, we are very often doing huge building cases. We want to walk fluently through these spaces, which is now possible, but you need the knowledge, yeah, how to program it, you know, how to get
for sure
how many polygons in, yeah. If you ask me, I'm very happy how it is now, and it will only get better by itself. I'm very sure you guys working on it. It's the communication, it's real time, yeah, and for sure then like all this boring stuff we have to do, like issue management, you know, directly going from the VR in our control tools, in change orders and all this stuff. It will come, yeah, because of all these open interfaces, like the APIs of all these programs. It's working quite good. I'm happy, yeah.
Absolutely. And I really like this idea of the construction robot, not just being one that's about confirming, you know, basically doing traditional CA activity and confirming that everything's built properly, but it's also going beyond that and saying, okay, is this a safe work site? Are there hazards here and things like that? And I think that's the type of thinking that really sets Kohlbecker apart. It's saying, okay, this is great for what this is, but what's something that's adjacent? And it's that free thinking that is quite impressive. And I can see how your relationships with universities and things like that would be incredibly valuable, because you need to be essentially reviewing those emerging technologies, but you have to also review them with companies that are, or with entities that are equally open to new ideas. And I'm curious if you've ever had an instance where your clients or members of your design team as a whole have been resistant to some of these new technologies, and if you've had to sort of convince them to come on board.
Yeah, that's that happens all the time, Roderick. You have to think positive. My grandfather, the industrial pioneer architect Karl Kohlbecker, he said we have to create a human factory. You know, we have to like take everyone, and it's not only for the product; it's also for the humans. You have to convince the people for the better of the good, because, you know, like with every technology, it comes into an organism like an architecture office, like a virus, you know, and then you have like the antibodies, you know, and then you just have to check that you find the vaccination, you explain why it helps for, and that's what makes the people afraid. Am I allowed with all these VR glasses to use my pencil and draw on papers? For sure you are, you know. That doesn't matter at all. It's just later on, it's just a tool. Yeah, it won't also modular building and all this lean management stuff. We need creativity. Yeah, like my old boss Renzo Piano said, we architects have to reinvent Atlantis, this sunken city. Yeah, the whole time we need to have fun with our job, and we will have. It's only a tool. Yeah, it's not we are forced to use it the whole time, and then you just have to prove, you know, the case that it works, you know, and that it makes like more fun using the VR glasses. And actually, for me, as a board member of Kohlbecker and like 4 other architectural firms, I love it. I take my VR glasses. I have real time the projects of my colleagues on it in the evening. Whenever I have time, I walk through, see what they're doing. I can leave comments in space, and I'm just up to date. You know, it's like great. I don't.
It's
need
like
to
your grandfather reading the fax, or is it your father reading the faxes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. You know, strange, no, that it like went this fast. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a great note to end on and say this was a wonderful conversation. And we absolutely appreciate you joining us for this Envision conference. So that's going to wrap up the Envision conference for today. And just to remind everyone that all of the previous sessions are available to watch, all recorded. And we look forward to having all of you join us tomorrow for more inspiring sessions. So Florian, thank you very much. That was a great conversation.
Roderick, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.